Good day everyone, especially to Coach Jude S. Martinez. So today, together with my teammates, we're going to talk about to you the Module 4, which is the Learner-Centered Pedagogy. But before that, let me first introduce myself. My name is Jona Lacastesantos, and I'm one of the leader of Peer Teacher Discussion Team 3. And later on, my teammates, they're going to talk about to you their assigned topics. So without further ado, let's start. So after studying this module, we are expected to first discuss the nature of learner-centered teaching modalities, structures, methods, and strategies that facilitate differentiated teaching to suit learners' gender, needs, strength, interests, and experiences. So introduction. Learner-centered pedagogy views learners as active participants in their own learning, with their education shaped by their interest, prior knowledge, and active investigation. So in the learner-centered class, the responsibility for learning is placed on the student and is more cooperative, solely based on the instruction from the teacher. So in other words, the students we have the responsibility for us to learn from the instruction of the teacher. So we do not just rely from the teacher from what they say, but we need to understand and we need to learn from our interest, prior knowledge, on behalf that we can be an active investigator. So we have here the letter A, delivery modalities. So delivery modalities refers to a learning delivery modality where learning takes place between the teacher and the learners who are geographically remote from each other during instructions. Or in other words, delivery modalities are the channels or pathways through which individuals give or receive and store information. So nowadays, actually, the situation right now, we need the delivery modalities because in this way, we can comprise the concept of instruction. It also includes what is the learning takes place from between the teacher or the student. So delivery modalities, we have the two teaching students. There are two. So number one, we have the face-to-face. So in face-to-face is an instructional method where course contents and learning materials are taught in person to a group of students, and this allows for a live interaction between a learner and instructor. In here, face-to-face, it will be an effective live interaction between a learner and the instructor because it allows us to better exchange informations from the speaker and the listener. Or we are able to see from what we are doing, or we can interpret our body, language, and facial expressions. Or in other words, face-to-face interaction is defined as the mutual influence of individuals' direct physical presence from our body. So under the blended learning, we have here the A, station rotation blended learning. So it is a model that allows students to rotate through stations on a fixed schedule where at least one of the station is an online learning station. So in here, the blended learning rotation model, it is one modality is online learning. So example of the rotation activities might include one-on-one time with the teacher, or per group interactions, teacher led the lessons, or it depends on the study time. So it allows the teachers to provide differentiation and also work with students on a platform that students might find more engaging. So letter B, remote blended learning or enriched virtual. So we have the letter B, remote blended learning or enriched virtual. In this module, the students' focus is on completing online coursework while only meeting with the teacher intermittently or as needed. So enriched virtual is defined as students dividing their time between learning remotely and attending a brick-and-mortar school. So example, if the students primarily complete their work online and come into school for support on or as needed basis, then they have an enriched virtual blended learning program. So we have here the letter C, the flipped classroom blended learning. So it is the one where students are introduced to content at home and practice working through at in-school supported by a teacher or a peer. This is also known as a flipped classroom. So it is a bit more clear out. So there is a divide between the technology and face-to-face elements of the learning experiences. So the learners are watching or asked to watch a learning video or participate of the learning experiences. So an exercise before coming to class, and also the new materials are explored at learn in most cases. So the knowledge that is learned online is applied in the classroom. So it is one of the example that the flipped classroom is what we are doing right now. So we are the students to working in our home while our teachers are facilitating us or supporting us on how we come up to this blended learning. Letter D, we have the mastery-based blended learning. So students rotate between online and face-to-face learning based on the completion of mastery-based learning objective. So it is enabling students to move forward in their learning at their own pace. So as they master content rather than based on traditional time structures. So we have the number 3, technology-based or online e-learning. So in here, constitute learning via electronic technology, including the internet, intranet, satellite, broadcast, audio and video referencing, bulletin boards, chat rooms, webcast, and CD-room. So in here, we are all familiar in this technology base. So we are using the internet or the intranets or the satellite or broadcast audio and the video conferencings while doing our online classes. So in here, it will help the students to stay connected on what they are going to learn. And number 4, distance learning. So with online learning, it is a method of study where teachers and students do not meet in a classroom, but learning materials are sent through the internet, emails, etc., and to have classes. So in here, distance learning, it is important to have this sending the modules through the internet, through the emails, because even though the teachers are not meeting the students, they still have connection or they still have this learning outcomes or this learning relationship. Now let's welcome my teammates as they discuss their own assigned topic.
Hello, Coach Jude Martinez. I am Louie Jay Torejos from DT3. For today, I am going to discuss about structures for facilitating learner-centered teaching. So, facilitating learner-centered teaching, it is a potent tool to help pre-service and practicing teachers understand the fundamental pedagogical principles, processes, and practices that are anchored on learner-centeredness and other educational psychologies as they apply to facilitate on delivery of teaching and learning in the current educational milieu. So this is very significant that teachers should know and understand this kind of structures, because these structures is very powerful guide for teachers to understand the basic pedagogical concepts, procedures, and strategies based on learner-centeredness and how they contribute to the delivery of teaching and learning in today's educational learning. There are 3 structures under for facilitating learner-centered teaching. So first is the formal or traditional. So formal or traditional is concerned with the teacher being the controller of the learning environment. So this is a concern with the teacher's position as the master of the classroom environment. So teachers hold power and duty, and they serve as both an educator via lectures and decision makers in regards to curriculum and specific outcomes. So the majority of approaches are the teacher directed, with students being guided in a way that encourage them to sit and listen. So from the word itself, formal, it is a way that the teachers is the one who facilitate the learners through interaction via lecture and to teach, to lead the students in a respectful manners, as well as it is a type of structures that have a face-to-face interaction with the students. Second is alternative learning system or ALS. So it's a practical option to the existing formal instruction so that students can complete basic education in a mode that fits their distinct situation and needs. So, in an alternative learning system, it is intended for those students have hectic schedules, such as working students and young mothers who want to finish their primary and secondary education. There are three under the alternative learning system. So first is the non-formal education. So it refers to education that occurs outside the formal school system. So it is often used interchangeably with terms such as community education, adult education, lifelong education, and second chance education. So community schooling, adult education, lifelong education, and second chance education are also words that are often used interchangeably. So it is important component of a lifelong learning concept that ensures that children and adults develop and retrain the talents, abilities, and attitudes required to respond to a constantly evolving environment. Next is informal education. So informal education does not have the structure and levels that formal schools have. It's more natural and spontaneous, meaning the information that one learns through this form of education comes from learning from experience. So informal education refers to learning that takes place outside of a formal curriculum. So informal education includes, but it is not limited to student preference within a program in a standard classroom environment. So it works through conversation and the exploration and enlargement of experience. So based on the example, formal education can teach you about fire and physics, and in more advanced classes, thermodynamics. But informal education is when you see a person burning their hand when they touch a pot handle without a pot holder, and you learn that the heat from one stove is transferred to the pot handle. So you should be careful when you handle your cooking ware. So based on the example, the person discovered that as you heated pot, at the heat will transfer to the pot handle. It means that informal education is a way of learning that you experience outside the curriculum. So third is the mobile teacher. So the mobile teacher are specialized teachers who live among the people in remote barangays of the country and conduct the BLP for illiterate out-of-school youth and adults who are willing to learn basic literacy skills and accreditation and equivalency, a continuing education for those who left formal school system or have no access to schools. So from the word itself, mobile teacher is a teacher that goes to their students to educate. So just for example, there are a school on the top of the mountain, then there is no teacher that is available to teach those students. So you volunteer to teach there. So you as a teacher, you mobilize to that place to teach the students. So the third is the alternative modes or the ADM. So it refers to the non-traditional education program recognized by the Department of Education, which applies a flexible learning philosophy and a curricular delivery program that includes non-formal and informal sources of knowledge and skills. So these are tried and true alternate modes of education delivery within the formal framework that enables schools to provide quality education to marginalized students and those on the verge of dropping out in order to assist them in overcoming personal, social, and economic barriers to their education. So for example, to this present situation, DepEd used the alternative delivery mode due to the pandemic. So there are three under the alternative delivery mode. So first is the modified in school of school approach or the MIMOSA. So it's an alternative delivery mode of education meant to address the problem of congestion overcrowding due to classroom and teachers shortage, resulting to big class size, less contact time with pupils, absenteeism, and insufficient learning materials. So, so this is a kind of mode where the student does not to be in the presence of classroom. So where they can able to learn even in the home, but both need to accomplish their own tasks to finish. So Mimosa classes are split into two groups, in school and off school. So the in school group learns in a traditional classroom settings, while the off school group is granted to the freedom to study and perform tasks individually or with the assistance of a learning facilitator. The second under the ALS is the alternative delivery mode is the enhanced instructional management by parent, community, and teachers, or the e-impact. So it is a learning system in the Philippines that was designed in 2010 by the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization, or SIMIO, in a tech. So is a technology based it is a technology based alternative learning approach that is guided by student engagement. So any student has access to online modules as well as online learning resources guides. So SIMIO hopes to use e-impact to address issues in the Philippines, in a Philippine public school system, such as a shortage of classes, teachers, textbook, a high dropout rate, and a poor education budget. So parents and members of the community become actively engaged in sustaining the system and making it work. So their support is crucial in ensuring that the learner process continues in their home. So it is important that the parents and members of the society, at the community, become actively engaged because their support is very crucial. And then the next is the Open High School program. So it is an alternative mode of formal secondary education program run by the Bureau of Secondary Education of the Department of Education of the Republic of the Philippines. So in an Open High School program is a kind of a formal learning way in a high school in which the student go to school to learn via face-to-face class. But this is intended to those students that have a problem to the time, and there is a specific day where they will go to learn things and that. So Open High School program is a program that is done every Sunday. So that's all. Thank you.
Hello, Coach Jude. Good day. I am Fatima Grace A. Pedregosa, one of the member of Peer Teacher Discussion Team 3. So now I am going to discuss about these methods and strategies. So there are several time-tested methods and strategies that learning-centered teachers can utilize in the classroom. So in a learner-centered classroom, teachers use several strategies for their students. They make use of some strategies or methods to address effective learning to their students. So teachers can employ variety of methods or strategies appropriate to the learning styles of students and carry out the objectives of the lessons to be taught. So teachers is not just making their teaching styles like that because they want to, but they also refer it to the students, specific needs in learning. A teacher will use strategies, a variety of strategies, that all students can cope up to the objectives, and by that, there's no students will left behind. So, before we proceed to the different methods and strategies, we first define what is the difference between methods and strategies. So methods are a set of actions that are done in a certain order, what to achieve a result. So as strategies are methods that adapt to conditions, responding to anticipated situations to achieve a complex goal, a goal that a method couldn't achieve. First method is active learning activities. Is any learning activity in which the students participates or interacts with the learning process as opposed to passively taking the information. So as a future educator, we must look for students' capacity on how they are going to get the concept of their topic effectively. So we may think of some activities in where all of our students can actively participate, in which they can easily adopt and get the information through the activities that we give to them. So when given the opportunity to actively engage with the information they are learning, students perform better. So in that way, we can see if our students are learning, if they perform in activities well, or even they cooperate in class well. So examples of active learning techniques include role playing, case studies, group projects, think, pair, share, debates, just in time, teaching, and short demonstrations followed by class discussion. So we can see that there are many active learning techniques that we can use in our teaching styles. So second is cooperative learning activities. Is a genetic term for various small group interactive instructional procedures. So a teacher can make some learning activities for individual and for groupings. So in this second method of the learning activities, from the word cooperative, so this means group interaction. So students work together on academic tasks in a small group to help themselves and their teammates learn together. So the students will work together for them to easily accomplish the task, and by that they are all learning. So example of cooperative learning activities are pair or group discussions, role play, jigsaw, think, pair, share, or write, pair, share, and fishbowl debate. So as we can notice, all that learning activities that I have been said lately is that it really involves cooperation. So they help one another for them to successfully achieve the activity. So by that, it can make them more engaged in learning. So the third one is inquiry and inductive learning activities. Inductive learning is a powerful strategy for helping students deepen their understanding of content and develop their influence and evidence gathering skills. So it was said that this method is a powerful strategy for the students. This inductive learning, also known as discovery learning. So by this, students will explore and discover for them to learn, and through their discovery, it helps them to understand more about the topic. So example of inquiry activities are case studies, group projects, research projects, field work, especially in science lessons, unique exercises tailored for the students. So students will or should gather information for them to get new learnings. So second, I will discuss about the learner-centered instructional strategies. So first, cooperative learning is a successful teaching strategy in which small teams, each with students of different levels of ability, use a variety of learning activities to improve their understanding of the subject. So this strategy can help them to get a new concept together and help each other to learn. This aims to organize classroom activities into academic and social learning experiences. Each member of a team is responsible for learning what is taught, but also for helping teammates learn, thus creating an atmosphere of achievement. So in a small team, even they need to achieve by group, but every individual of them will have the responsibility to do their part for their group. So by that, they can achieve the task by the help of the individual. So next is presentations. The instructional strategy of using students' presentations as a way to present content to the class as a whole can be fun and engaging method. So as a teacher, one way to make an effective discussion is also to have presentations to class. Students will have fun and make their learning engaging. So by this, it can be effective in class to understand well the topic. So example is the teacher hands out topics to students or groups and have them present information on each topic as a short presentation. So I think all of us experience this one. The teacher will assign each students to present the information on each topic. So it helps the students to develop communication skills in which they can speak in public because they are already practiced in class. This not only helps students learn the material deeper but also provide them with practice in public speaking. So the third one is panels. In a panel discussion, a selected group of students act as a panel and the remaining class members act as the audience. So these teaching strategies is also effective in which teachers will divide the class for their reporting or act as a panel. Then those students left will be the audience. So they are studying the topics assigned to them. Then in that way, they are learning. A panel leader is chosen and he or she summarizes the panel discussion and opens discussion to the audience. So the leader will be the one to discuss the topics. Then the sum of their members will also support their leader in which they will also give their perspectives. So the fourth one is KWL, in which K stands for no, W stands for what, and L stands for L. So KWL is an instructional reading strategy that is used to guide students through a text. Teachers will use this effective way to read with purpose. Students or the readers are the first asked to consider what they already know about the subject before they read the material. Students begin by brainstorming everything they know about the topic. So when the teachers already present the topic, the students will think about what they know about it. So this information is recorded in the K column of a KWL chart. So it is because K stands for no. So KWL charts are graphic organizers that help students organize information before, during, and after a unit of lesson. Students can evaluate themselves if they are learning. They can check they can check it from the start. Like for example, when the teachers already gave the topic, so they first think if what they know about the topic, then the during, and until after the discussion. They can be used to engage students in a new topic, active prior knowledge, share unit objectives, and monitor students' learning. So these KWL charts are effective tools for engaging students in the learning process, helping them recall knowledge and tracking their learning progress. So the fifth one is brainstorming. Is a large or small group activity that encourages students to focus on a topic and contribute to free flow of ideas. So this is commonly happen during class discussion, in which teachers allow every students to share their ideas or brainstorm. So it helps also, especially to those students who can't understand or who can't construct ideas about the lesson. So they can create ideas out of the opinions of their classmates. So the teachers may begin a brainstorming session by posing a question or a problem, or by introducing a topic. So teachers will throw questions, statements, or problems to their students. So students then express possible answers and relevant ideas. So students can have meaningful ideas because they do brainstorm to their classmates. So they can create ideas through sharing and presenting their own perceptions. So third is contributions are accepted without criticism or judgment and usually summarized on a whiteboard by the teacher or a scribe as the ideas are called out. So teachers will accept of what concept they create about the topic. The teachers can see how their students understand the given questions, statements, or problems without criticizing or judging it. So the last one is these ideas are then examined usually in an open class discussion. And the last one is these ideas are then examined usually in an open class discussion format. So after students present their ideas to their teachers, teachers will examine it or review the ideas of their students. So the sixth one is learner-created media. Involves a high degree of engagement, promotes individual learning, social interaction, and immersion, and is highly customizable and collaborative. So a learner can create their own media. Like for example, they make video projects in which it can be a powerful learning experience. So when we talk about media, it can have or make students eagerness in learning. It makes students to be more engaged in learning because the media or learning media supports the learning process for learning objectives that can be achieved. So it provides an alternative or a complement to traditional undergraduate students' research. Like for example, by doing a digital storytelling project, personal reflection and communication by students can be promoted. So by this, it makes the learning process more interesting. So the seventh or the last of the learner-centered instructional strategies is discussion. So is a variety of forums for open-ended collaborative exchange of ideas among a teacher and students or among students for a purpose of furthering. So the last part of this learner-centered instructional strategies is that discussion. So discussion is a variety of forums for open-ended, collaborative exchange of ideas among a teacher and students or among students for the purpose of furthering student thinking, learning, solving, understanding, or literary appreciation. So in this teaching strategy, it helps students to get the idea by having forum or ask open-ended questions to their teachers. By the help of sharing ideas of both students and teachers, they can easily get the main point of the lesson. The participants present multiple points of view, respond to the ideas of others, and reflect on their own ideas in an effort to build their knowledge, understanding, or interpretation of the matter at hand. So the learners will present their point of view or perceptions to the class and also the teachers. So in that case, they can easily proceed to the next topic because they can help each other to understand the specific lessons they have. So in having discussion, there are also advantages and disadvantages of this. So first, we will discuss about the disadvantages. First, the advantages of the discussion. So number one is in a discussion class, the students are actively involved in processing information and ideas. So students can actively construct and process information within themselves. So second is since student initiated questions are more common in discussion classes, their needs and interests are dealt with more readily and spontaneously than in other methods. And because students will ask an open-ended questions to their teachers, especially to those phrases or statements that they can't understand. So through discussion, it will be clear to them. So the third one is because students play a more active role in discussion, students' diversity of backgrounds can be exploited in the generation of ideas, approaches, and examples. So it helps them to maintain concentration and deepens learning towards the higher level skills like critical thinking, it helps students engage who might otherwise struggle. So teachers can give them more approaches and examples that makes them easy for that it is easy for them to get the main idea of the lesson. So the fourth one is students receive practice in formulating questions and communicating their ideas. So they can easily formulate questions like they will reframe questions so that they can easily come up with the exact ideas. So the fifth one is discussion can be used to examine students' attitude. So through discussion, teachers can able to test or examine closely the different attitudes of their students. So lastly, I will discuss about the disadvantages of this discussion. So first disadvantages is the discussion method is the least effective method of conveying factual information. So it is the least effective method for conveying factual information. It is because they are just dealing to the perceptives of individual without looking also to some factual information like encyclopedias, almanacs, government resources, and statistics. So second is discussion. Discussion can be very time consuming and unfocused unless the instructor makes an effort to direct the flow. So it is because they really give time to answer the different questions of their students, especially if a teacher doesn't explain direct the main point. So the students can have different point of view of their own understanding. So in that way, it is very time consuming. So the third one is because an instructor is often had difficulty in getting the students involved at first, the temptation to slip into a review session or mini lecture is great. So because teachers first connect their students to the previous sessions they had, they first review it for them to easily connect students to the new lessons. So the discussion they have in a review can make their learning process long. So the last disadvantages is class size must be restricted. Class size must be limited because it can be a burden to teachers handling big size of class. Teachers could also increase their workload and students can't be comfortable in their class discussion. And that would be all. Thank you.
Good day, Coach. My name is Ezekiel Agustin, BSc Ed Math 1K from Peer Teacher Discussion Team 3. Number 8, Small Group. A small group allows presenters to announce a topic or idea for group discussions among participants. A small group consists of 4 to 6 members in each group to brainstorm the given topic. 9. Case studies. Case studies is often involves simply observing what happens to or reconstructing the case history of a single participant or group of individuals. This strategy can be utilized as performance task of individuals or group of students. Number 10, Jigsaw. Jigsaw is a method of organizing classroom activities that makes students dependent on each other to succeed. This strategy is a collaborative learning, forming the students into groups and allow them to discuss and brainstorm among themselves. Number 11, Learning Centers. Learning Centers is an exploratory and interactive learning strategy where students rotate in groups to different activities. This strategy allows the student to learn on their own given a certain activity. It can be individual or by group. Number 12, Experiments. Experiments is a procedure carried out to support, reflect, or validate a hypothesis. Experiments provide insights into cause and effect by demonstrating what outcome occurs when a particular factor is manipulated. So with this strategy, the children are given a problem to solve. It can be individual or by group, so that they have to go under experimentation. 13. Role play. Roleplay is a technique that allows a student to explore realistic situations by interacting with other people in managed way. So here, the teachers will give students a group activity wherein they are given a scenario or a situation that they have to act it out. 14. Simulations. Simulations are instructional scenarios where the learner is placed in a world defined by the teacher. A kind of activity wherein they are brought outside the four corners of the classroom. Number 15. Laboratory strategies. Laboratories are wonderful setting for teaching and learning science. So this strategy is most applicable in the field of science. Number 16 is workshop. Workshop is a teaching structure that pushes students to be creative and responsible in their own learning. This kind of strategies is also known as hands-on activity. Number 17 is demonstration. Demonstration is a teaching method used to communicate an idea with visuals such as flip chart, posters, PowerPoint, and etc. So this strategy, the teacher is using visual and PowerPoint presentations showing models or examples of the topic being presented. 18. Inquiry-based strategy is an approach to learning that emphasizes the student's role in the learning process. This strategy is a type of strategy that students are encouraged to freely participate and share their ideas in the discussion. Number 19. Mental models. Mental models are organized pattern, often a visual representation consisting of both structure and process, a flowchart of sorts that helps a student comprehend content knowledge and or solve problems. So in this strategy, the teacher is using a kind graphic organizer in presenting the lessons in order for the students to fully comprehend on the content of the lessons. Number 20, project-based learning. Project-based learning is a teaching method in which students gain knowledge and skills. In this strategy, the students are asked to produce an outcome based on the lesson learned. Number 21, problem-based learning. Problem-based learning is a teaching method in which complex real-world problems are used as the vehicle to promote students' learning concepts and principles. So in this strategy, the teacher is using a real-life situation strategy to allow the students to understand easily. Number 22, discovery learning. Discovery learning was introduced by Jerome Bruner and is a method inquiry-based instruction. So this strategy is not limited to the field of science and mathematics.
Good day, Coach Jude S. Martinez. By the way, I'm Rosie Bendanillo from Team 3 Peer Teacher Discussion. And the last part of learner-centered instructional strategies is debate. A debate involves students in expressing their opinions from two competing perspectives with the goal of contradicting each other argument by Chang and Chu 2010. It means it is an argue about the opposing side of a subject or a topic or to discuss the merits of different arguments or ideas and point of view. Example, two groups of students debate about the right of education to the poor student. And now to be continued on letter D, which is the flexible learning and teaching. Flexible learning is a method of learning where students are given freedom in how, what, when, and where they learn. For example, some students they learn from the group of their classmates, and some students learn through the action and their own. And now, flexible teaching accommodates curiosity, allows lessons to have a much looser structure. Let's discussion and thoughts play out and follow them to see where they go. It is a learning environment address how physical space is used, how students are grouped during learning, and how time is used throughout teaching. And now we go to letter E, which is differentiated learning. Differentiated learning is a framework or philosophy that involves providing all students within their diverse classroom community of learners a range of different awareness for understanding new information in terms of acquiring content, processing, constructing, or making sense of ideas, and developing teaching materials and assessment measures so that all students within a classroom can learn effectively regardless of differences in their ability. It means allow students to show what they know in different ways. It can work well in general education classes that includes students with learning and thinking differences. And there are four differentiated learning. One is design lessons based on students' learning styles. Two, group students by standard, interest, topic, and ability for assignment. 3. Assess students' learning using formative assessment. 4. Manage the classroom to create size and supportive environment. Differentiating instruction by mean teaching the same material to all students using a variety of instructional strategies. It may require the teacher to deliver lessons at varying levels or difficulty based on ability of each student. According to Tomlinson, teachers can differentiate instruction through four ways. 1 is content, 2 process, 3 product, 4 learning environment. Examples of differentiated instruction: creating learning station. Provide different types of content by setting up learning station. Divide section of your classroom through which group of learning students rotate. You can facilitate this with flexible setting plan. Each station should use unique method of teachings, a skill or concept related to your lesson. For example, students can rotate between station that involves watching a video, creating artwork, reading an article, completing puzzles, and listening to your teacher. Target differences within lessons. A lesson should resonate with more students if it targets visual, tactile, auditory, and kinetic senses instead of only one, like playing videos, using infographics, providing audiobooks, getting students to act out a scene, incorporating charts and illustration with text, giving both spoken and written direction to tasks, using relevant physical objects such as money when teaching math skills, and allocating time students to create artistic reflection and interpretation of lesson. Use to think pair share strategy. Requires students to think individually about a topic or answer to a question and share ideas with classmates. Make time for journaling. A journal can be a tool for students to reflect on the lesson you have taught and activities you have run, helping them process new information.
Thank you so much for my teammates. Thank you for the discussion. And now we're going to the last, which is the letter F, education in emergencies. So it is a critical life-saving response that works to protect children in conflict and natural disasters and preserve their right to education. So this emergency situation, it is the affecting education are defined as all situation in which man-made or the natural disasters. So in here, it is saving responses that the teachers and the children, they will protect the conflict between these disasters. So it is preserving that the right of their education. Number 1, we have the foundational standards. So this domain details the standards for community participation and resources, coordination and analysis, assessment, response strategies, monitoring, evaluation. So through these standards, the children will be able to participate and analyze from what is the assessment or the response of this monitoring evaluation. So it is also important to have a monitoring evaluation for them to know if the children is safe. So number 2, we have the teaching learning domain. So these standards focus on critical elements that promote effective teaching and learning. So including curricular training, professional development, and support. So instruction and learning processes. So assessment of the learning outcomes. So this also help us to teach and promote effective teaching, as they will include the training, development, also the support. So learning will be also the assessment of these learning outcomes. So we have here the A, curricula. So culturally, socially, and linguistically relevant curricula are used to provide formal and non-formal education, so appropriate to the particular context and needs of learners. So in this curricular, we have always in this classroom that whether we have a serious or a joke time. So it is also important to have this, because the learners also need context on how they will learn in a specific formal or non-formal. So it is also socially engaging for them to use their own or to use the joke times as while they are learning, so they will be able to learn in a joyful time. So B, training, professional development, and support. So teachers and other education personnel receive periodic, relevant, and structured training according to needs and circumstances. So in here, the teachers and the professional development, they are receiving the relevant structured training according to needs and circumstances. So it is also important to have this, because the support of every trained professional is very important to the students. So C, instruction and learning processes. So instruction and learning process are learner-centered, participatory, and inclusive. So the instruction also is important to have to include in this learning process, because without the instruction, the learner will be lost, or they will not be participate because they do not understand. So last, the assessment and learning outcomes. So appropriate methods are used to evaluate learning outcomes. So after all the training or the development, it is important to have this assessment to know the learning outcomes. So in here, in assessment and learning outcomes, you will know how the students or how they are performing, or how they use learning of what you have said or what you have instruct them. So it is important to have these outcomes for you to evaluate their learnings or what they should be need to improve. And that's the end of our discussion. Thank you. Again, we are the peer teaching discussion team 3 1K BS Ed Math. So we have here the members: Jona, Lacastesantos, Fatima Grace, Pedregosa, Rosie Bendanillo, Louie Jay Torejos, and Ezekiel Agustin. So we are presenting this to Coach Jude S. Martinez. So thank you for watching.